Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about a game that's been around for quite a while, actually.
Yeah.
DayZ. And we're going to be looking specifically at 2024.
Yeah, that's right. 2024 was a big year for DayZ.
It was, it's one of those games that just continues to surprise people. I think a lot of folks thought it kind of had its moment.
Right.
And then it kind of went away. But
That's back.
it seems like it's come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at some of the data from the DayZ team and really kind of looking at how the game has evolved over time.
Yeah, and I think this is interesting for folks, even if they're not, diehard DayZ fans, just to kind of see how a game can, stay relevant, stay fresh, and stay popular for so long.
Well, especially a game like DayZ. I mean, you think about it, it's an open world survival game with zombies.
Right.
Really, the core of the gameplay is about player interaction.
Exactly.
How do players interact with each other?
And emergent gameplay, like you never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
From one moment to the next.
Exactly. It's all about those unexpected moments. Those,
the
human element.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that's kept it going. It's not just about like a scripted narrative. It's really about what players bring to it.
Right.
So, speaking of things that are, surprising, DayZ actually saw some pretty impressive numbers in 2024.
Yeah, they did 79,000 concurrent PC players.
Wow.
At its peak. And that's not even counting all the other platforms. They've got it on PlayStation, Xbox.
Yeah.
And then if you just look at Steam alone, over 355,000 daily active users.
It's incredible.
Which for a game that came out in 2013, it's, pretty amazing.
I mean, that's got to be, what, over 10 years at this point?
Yeah, 11 years.
11 years. So what do you think, what were some of the factors that really contributed to these numbers? Why do we think DayZ is having this resurgence?
Well, one of the big things was they released a new expansion called Frostline.
Okay.
And Frostline was a huge deal. It was a whole new map.
So not just like a little DLC. This was like a full-blown...
Yeah, exactly. A whole new map called Sakhal.
Sakhal, okay.
And it had like a winter survival theme, right?
Oh, wow.
So you've got, freezing temperatures.
Oh, that's brutal.
Harsh landscapes really pushes the survival elements to the limit.
So even more challenging than the base game, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, much more challenging. And I think that really appealed to a lot of the DayZ players. They were looking for something new, something different, something to kind of shake things up.
So how did they come up with this idea for Frostline? Was it just something they were brainstorming internally, or?
So it's actually pretty interesting. The inspiration for Frostline came from the DayZ community itself.
Yeah.
There was this popular mod called Namalsk.
Okay.
Which was also a winter survival map, and the players loved it.
So they were basically like, hey, we want this officially.
Essentially, yeah. They saw the popularity of this mod, and they thought, hey, you know what? This is something that we should explore.
And that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that they're listening to the community like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows you the power of user-generated content.
Right.
These modders, they're passionate, they're creative, they're coming up with these incredible ideas. And sometimes those ideas are so good, they deserve to be brought into the official game.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a free, R&D department in a way.
Right.
It's got all these people coming up with cool stuff, and you can kind of cherry pick the best. So this was obviously a risky move.
Yeah.
Taking this community mod and turning it into this official expansion. But it seems like it paid off.
It absolutely paid off. So before it even launched, Frostline had 315,000 wish lists on Steam.
That's insane.
Which is a ton for an expansion.
Yeah.
And then after it launched, it went on to sell over 450,000 units across all platforms.
Wow. So they definitely struck gold with this one.
They did.
Okay, so they've got this hit expansion. Now the question is, how do they market it?
Right.
Did they go for those big, splashy influencer campaigns that we see all the time these days?
So they actually took a very different approach with the marketing for Frostline.
Really?
They decided to focus almost exclusively on their existing community.
Interesting. So instead of trying to reach new players, they were really doubling down on the people who already loved DayZ.
Exactly. They handpicked, community influencers, people who are already passionate about the game.
Right, people who understood it.
Yeah, and they really prioritized authenticity over, just broad reach.
So it was more about like genuine excitement rather than trying to force it.
Right. Oh,
okay,
no,
so that's a risky strategy, right? I mean, because you could alienate potential new players who might not even know about this expansion.
Yeah, it was definitely a risk.
But it seems like they were betting on this idea that the enthusiasm from the core community would kind of spill over and create this ripple effect.
That's right. They were hoping that, the existing players would be so excited about it, they would tell their friends, they would share it online, and it would kind of naturally attract new players.
So what were the results? Did it work?
It did. It worked out really well. They had over 1,600 content creators who got involved.
Wow.
And all those creators combined, they generated 164 days of watch time.
That's a lot of DayZ.
It is a lot of DayZ.
Okay. And then what about on Twitch? Because that's kind of a key platform for a lot of these games, especially survival games.
Yeah, absolutely. During the exclusive streamer event for Frostline, they peaked at over 84,000 viewers on Twitch.
Wow. Okay. So it sounds like their gamble paid off.
It did.
This community focus really got people talking, even if they weren't already diehard DayZ fans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we've talked about Frostline, this big expansion, but that wasn't the only thing happening in the DayZ world in 2024.
Right.
They also had 3 significant game updates.
They did 1.24, 1.25, and 1.26.
And these updates focused on what?
So they were all about, stability, quality of life improvements.
Always important.
And, of course, new content.
Right. You got to keep things fresh.
Exactly.
So what kind of quality of life improvements are we talking about here? Like, what were some of the things that they really wanted to address?
Well, for one, they integrated the Livonia DLC map into the base game.
Oh, okay. So now everyone has access to that.
Yep, that's right. Everybody gets to experience Livonia.
Cool.
And they also introduced a brand new ambience soundtrack.
Oh, nice.
Imposed by Philip Mishak.
I love when games get new soundtracks.
Yeah, me too. It can really change the feel of the game.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in a game like this, where atmosphere is so important.
Right.
You're out there, you're surviving, you're trying to stay alive. The music can really make a difference.
Yeah, you need that, right? You need something to keep you immersed in that world.
Exactly.
And Philip Mishak did a fantastic job with the soundtrack. It's really haunting. It's atmospheric.
Nice.
It really fits the DayZ vibe.
Okay, and speaking of audio, they also did something with the shotguns, right?
Oh, yeah, you remember that.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that.
Yeah, they did a complete overhaul of the shotgun audio.
So what does that mean exactly? Like, did they just make them louder or?
It's more than just louder. It's like the entire way the shotguns sound.
Okay.
When they fire, when you reload, it's all been redone.
And why was that so important?
Well, it might seem like a small detail, right?
Right.
But the audio in a game can be just as crucial as the visuals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially in a survival setting.
Because it adds to that tension.
Exactly. You need that tension. You need that immersion.
So, like, imagine you're sneaking through the woods, right? Your heart's pounding, and suddenly you hear that distinct blast of a shotgun.
Right.
Just like gets your adrenaline going.
Exactly. It's all about making that world feel real.
Right.
Making it feel like the consequences are real.
Yeah, and you got to be on your toes. Because you never know what's coming next. So we've got this massive expansion, regular updates focused on refining the core gameplay, and a dedicated community creating all this new content. But there's always a flip side to a thriving online community, right?
Right.
What about the people who try to spoil the fun?
Ah, the cheaters.
The cheaters, exactly.
Yeah, that's always going to be a problem in online games.
Right.
But the DayZ team, they take it very seriously.
Yeah.
They banned over 20,000 cheaters in 2024.
Wow.
Which brings the grand total to over 150,000 bans.
Okay, so they are not messing around.
No, they're not.
They're really committed to keeping that playing field level.
Absolutely.
Which is great. I mean, because nobody wants to play a game where, somebody's just cheating their way to the top.
Right. It ruins the experience for everyone.
Exactly.
So it's important for the developers to take a stand.
Yeah, and it shows that they care about the community. They're not just going to let these cheaters run rampant.
Exactly. They want to create a fair and enjoyable experience for all players.
Yeah, both the seasoned veterans and the newcomers. Because you got to keep those new players coming in.
Right. You need that fresh blood.
Yeah.
Keep the community alive.
Okay, so they're banning cheaters. They're releasing updates. They've got this hit expansion. Seems like they're doing a lot of things.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
So let's take a deeper dive into some of those other aspects.
Sounds good.
And see what else DayZ has been up to in 2024.
All right. It's a tough thing, right? You want to give players the freedom to do their thing.
Right.
But you also got to make sure it's fair for everyone.
Yeah, you don't want the game to devolve into chaos.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance.
So speaking of player freedom, we touched on this a bit earlier, but the DayZ community is incredibly active when it comes to creating content.
Oh, yeah. They are a creative bunch.
Like, we're not just talking about little tweaks here and there. We're talking about a massive amount of new mods.
Over 37,000 new mods were created in 2024 alone.
37,000?
Yeah, it's insane.
That is mind-boggling.
It really shows you how passionate the DayZ community is.
I mean, that's more than some games have in their entire lifespan.
Right. And it's not just the quantity, it's the quality, too.
Yeah. What are some of the things that they're creating? Like, what kind of mods are we talking about?
Well, you've got everything you can imagine, custom maps,
Okay.
new gameplay mechanics.
So they're really changing the game.
They are, yeah. Sometimes they're creating entirely new scenarios.
Wow.
Role-playing elements. It's incredible.
So it's almost like they're expanding the game world.
They are. They're taking that foundation that the developers have built, and they're just running wild with it.
And the coolest thing is that the DayZ team actually embraces this.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They're not, like, trying to shut it down.
No, they encourage it. They even integrate some of those community-made elements into the official game.
Really? So it's like this really cool back and forth.
It is, yeah. It's a true collaboration.
It's almost like this living, breathing organism, where the developers are kind of providing the skeleton.
Right. The framework.
And then the community is kind of fleshing it out.
Exactly. And it's constantly evolving.
Okay, so we've got the mods, we've got the expansion. What about those official events?
The events.
They always have those seasonal events in DayZ.
Oh, yeah. Those are always fun.
Yeah, they add a little something extra.
They shake things up a bit.
So what were some of the events that they had in 2024?
Well, they had Walpurgis Night.
Okay.
Payday, Halloween, and Christmas.
I remember the Halloween event. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah. That was creepy.
Yeah, they had that eerie fog.
Right. It was like this thick fog that rolled in.
Where you couldn't see anything.
It was so atmospheric, though.
Oh, yeah. It added a whole new level of tension.
Definitely. You never knew what was lurking in the fog.
Every shadow was terrifying.
Right. Every little sound could be anything.
It's like they really transformed the game world.
They did. Yeah. They really put a lot of effort into those events.
And I think that's cool because it shows that they're not just, releasing the game and then forgetting about it.
Right.
They're actually trying to keep things fresh, keep things interesting.
Yeah, they're constantly adding new content, new experiences.
And they're creating these shared moments for the community.
Right. It's something that everybody can participate in.
Okay, so speaking of shared moments, we got to talk about that streamer exclusive event for Frostline.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
84,000 viewers on Twitch at its peak.
That's a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah. That's some serious exposure for the game.
Definitely. And it generated a ton of buzz online.
I bet.
People were talking about it everywhere.
So it seems like their strategy of focusing on the community really paid off.
It did. It really did.
Okay, but all of this takes a lot of work, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a major expansion, regular updates, managing a thriving community battling cheaters.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. And they've got a relatively small team.
They do.
So how do they manage to do it all?
Well, one of the things they did was they brought on some talented modders from the community
Oh, that's smart.
to help with the development of Frostline.
Yeah, you're basically tapping into this pool of expertise.
Exactly.
People who already know the game inside and out.
Right. And it strengthens those community ties even further.
Because now those modders are part of the team.
Exactly.
And it shows that the DayZ team is willing to recognize the talent that exists within their own community. It's not just about hiring developers. It's about building a shared vision.
Right. It's about empowering players to shape the future of the game.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that makes DayZ so special.
It is. Yeah.
It's not just a game, it's a community.
It's a collaboration.
And it's inspiring to see a game like this, that's been around for over a decade, not just surviving, but thriving
Right.
in this gaming landscape that's dominated by these massive studios.
It's impressive.
It is, and I think it's a testament to the power of passion, innovation, and that genuine connection with the players.
Yeah, they really care about their community.
They do.
And it shows.
Okay, so we've looked back at DayZ's remarkable journey in 2024. Now the question is, what's next?
Right. Where do they go from here?
What new adventures await us in the world of Chernarus?
And beyond.
So what are your thoughts if you were at the helm of the DayZ ship? What course would you chart for the future?
That's a good question.
What uncharted territories would you explore? What innovations would you introduce?
So many possibilities.
What would you prioritize to make sure that DayZ continues to thrive in the years to come?
Yeah, what would you do to keep that momentum going?
These are questions worth pondering
They are?
And we encourage you to share your thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Maybe your insights will inspire the next chapter in this ever-evolving saga of survival.
Right. The future of DayZ is in your hands.
But before we get too carried away with the future, let's take a moment to appreciate the present.
Yeah, let's savor the thrill of scavenging for supplies.
Right.
The tension of encountering other players.
The satisfaction of surviving another day in the unforgiving world of DayZ.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, embracing the challenge, forging connections.
Creating your own story.
In a world that constantly surprises.
And captivates.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in, like, what's next, you know?
Right.
But sometimes you gotta just, like, step back and be like, wow.
Yeah, appreciate what we have.
Right, like, this game has come a long way.
It really has.
You know, from those early access days.
Oh, man, remember those?
Yeah.
It was rough.
It was janky.
Yeah, but it was fun.
It was fun, though.
But it's become something truly special, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the DayZ team really understands what makes this game tick. You know, that balance between realism,
Right.
player freedom, and that emergent gameplay.
Yeah, that's what keeps people coming back.
You never know what's going to happen.
Thanks.
It could be another player, could be a zombie, could be the environment itself. Right. Could be your own stupidity.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot.
Happens to the best of us.
But speaking of things that enhance the experience, have you had a chance to listen to that new ambient soundtrack?
Oh, yeah, I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
But it is so good.
It's incredible.
It really adds this whole other layer.
It's immersive.
Yeah, to the game.
Philip Mishik did an amazing job.
He captured the essence of DayZ, I think.
Yeah, it's haunting.
Yeah.
Atmospheric. Really fits the world.
And it's the kind of music that, like, sticks with you.
Right.
Even after you've logged off, you know.
Yeah, you're still hearing it in your head.
Like, I'm walking down the street and I'm like, wait, is that?
Right.
Is that a zombie?
But the DayZ soundtrack? Yeah.
But it's not just the audio, you know?
Right.
They're always paying attention to the little things.
The detail.
The details. Whether it's gunplay, inventory crafting.
Right. They're always refining that core gameplay loop.
Yeah, making it more intuitive, more immersive, more rewarding.
And they do a good job of balancing that, you know, between catering to the veterans and also making it accessible to newcomers.
Yeah, you don't want to scare away the new folks.
No, you need those fresh players.
And it really speaks to their dedication, I think.
Yeah.
And their understanding of the community.
They know their players.
Yeah.
They know what they want.
And they've created this world that welcomes everybody. Whether you're a hardcore survivalist.
Right.
Or you're just looking for, you know, a unique online experience.
A challenge.
Something different.
And they've done all of this while staying true to those core principles that made DayZ so compelling in the first place.
It's still a game that demands respect.
Right.
You know, you got to be on your toes.
Every decision matters.
And sometimes the greatest threat comes from your fellow survivors.
Oh, yeah. You never know who to trust.
You don't. That's what makes it so interesting.
It's unpredictable. It's a social experiment.
It is.
It's like a mirror to human nature.
It really is.
You know, when the chips are down.
What are people going to do?
Yeah. Are you going to be the hero or the villain?
Or somewhere in between.
Right. It's all up to you.
And I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
As we wrap up this deep dive into DayZ's incredible journey in 2024.
It's been quite a year.
It has.
And I'm excited to see what they do next.
Me too.
But for now, get out there, explore the world of Carnarus.
Survive.
And write your own story.
That's what it's all about.
That's DayZ.